This is Lost Judgment, the sequel to Judgment. We're here on Xbox Series X. You could play this by itself and it'll give you the gist of what happened in the first game, but to really appreciate the journey that our pal Yagami kind of goes on, I do suggest playing the first game prior to jumping in on this one, and I do have a separate review for that. So we're here on Xbox Series X. We get two options that are present, so you can switch between them within the game settings, and you want to choose between standard or resolution. So for standard, what we're getting is 1440p at 60 FPS. Then with the resolution priority, we're getting a 4K resolution at 30 FPS. So this is more of like a cinematic viewing angle if you want to go for the 4K 30, which is what we're showing right now. For me, personally, with the fact that there's, action and combat, the fluidity of having the 1440p at 60 FPS is kind of the way to go. And again, I just wanted to show it off so that you can see, sort of the visual quality option here. But we're going to switch back to the 1440p at 60 FPS. Just because having that fluidity is just great. And I mean, it looks really good, even with this quality. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. So let's show off a bit of the combat and talk about some of the things that are present here. So this game takes place a few years after the events of the last game. So if you played, the first Judgment game, you're going to be right at home here. I mean, they just did a new release of it on the Xbox, like literally at the beginning of the year for when I was playing this one. And it was a fantastic journey. I was blown away by it. It's a really cool detective type game. And there's not many games out there quite like this. It literally focuses on you being an actual detective, solving crimes, and exploring a selection of open world environments. So this is a spin-off of the Yakuza franchise. So if you've played the Yakuza games, you're going to be right at home. These ones are a little less focused on like the combative action and are more about, solving these mysteries, figuring out what's going on, being the good guy, And it's just really intriguing because you go to places that you are, familiar with, but you explore them in different ways. So obviously, this is like an iconic location within the Yakuza franchise, the city. You go here all the time. Now, the majority of this game actually doesn't even take place here. It takes place in another location that we're going to travel to. If you played Yakuza Like a Dragon, the area will feel very familiar to you. You'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I know this. And you might, have some reference of it if you've played the other entries. And I'm trying to, mix in combat and whatnot. But what's neat about this one is they've actually really taken, at least I think, feedback from the first Judgment game. And they really focused on the things that make this one really neat. And that means there's a little bit less combat in this one. You can fight random guys on the street. But, during most missions and sequences, it's more about the story. It's more about the detective work. It's more about the law work. Because you were a disgraced lawyer, now you're actually, a lawyer again, and you work at this office, and that's part of what's going on. And if you loved the undercover hilarious missions with one of your lawyer pals, you are going to be blown away because that's been, basically doubled here. You get double the glamour undercover, and it's just hilarious. I just get, the stupidest smile on my face when those sequences show up. Because they are just hilarious. And yeah, you've got a couple different skills and stances in this one, so we'll talk about that as well. So, I've kind of just got this snake thing going on, but there's a few different options that are present. I'm in the New Game Plus type thing, so, I kind of it's the after setting. Anyways, this is our map, so this is the city, pretty big. We're going to take a taxi in a bit here and show off the other area. But these are the skills, so you've got different skill points to help with combat, you've got your different abilities that kind of let you fight folks. Then you've got your subcategories, so the tiger, the crane, and the snake. And you'll want to upgrade your certain abilities so that you can get the health options. So each of these will actually add to your bar, all of them. So they're very important to get. I kind of neglected it. I only got one category, and I was like, oh. By the end of the game, I just popped all these points into it. And then you've got this special category to help with things like, kind of finding people out and, using deception. There's a nice new deception mechanic for if you're doing the trailing missions. And you don't have to do too many trailing missions when you're actually doing, the campaign or, the story. And I thought that was really great. So outside of actually doing, the story missions, there are a lot of like side missions you can do. If you've played any of the Yakuza games, you're probably going to be like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. They do like hilarious things, silly stuff. You can do like regular private eye type things because you're like a detective, but you're a private eye detective. You're not like a serious detective, so you do all kinds of silly stuff. Like the game opens up with a serious but somewhat silly too, kind of like, well, I guess it wasn't too silly, but about a girl dealing with this guy that was kind of like, I don't know, trying to get her to work so that he could basically do gambling and whatnot. And it's just like there's so many weird missions, and there's like the karaoke stuff, the mini games. There's like mini games in the main menu. You can go to different places to play games. So this is the lawyer offices. I just wanted to drop by and say hello. So if you're familiar with this lady, that's the one I was talking about. You go undercover as her a couple times. It's so funny at this one, and then Genda over there because it's Genda's law office, and that guy's I wouldn't say like a protege of yours, but it's like he's definitely someone you've been like working with and helping out. Stuff like that. And I'm trying to think, it's like, should I look at my kind of messages things? I don't want to kind of... Okay, we're just going to ignore that, because I don't want to spoil anything story-wise that might, impact what you're kind of doing. The game all runs really well. It runs really good. I did have a crash right in the epilogue of the game. So these games, they're meaty. They are chunky. They're like 20-something hours to work through. That's just like rushing through it, not even doing like side stuff. And anyways, I was just like, I was like, oh no, the epilogue. So I lost like an hour and a half of gameplay. So make sure you save when you get options. Like you can save basically at any time, right? Like you don't have to, you know what I mean? Like you can save at any point. They also give you points where you can save at the end of like these chapters. The game's split into these chapters. I think there's 13 that are present. So you can kind of be like, okay, I'm going to save now, and, that's kind of what you can do. And I just suggest doing that, because I was like, oh. And it's not something I'm counting against the game. Like a crash, you'd be like, oh no, but it's crashed. And it was like, we had one in like, 20-something hours of play. It just happened to be at the worst situation while I was streaming. But, it's just like, it's actually runs really good. Beautiful cinematics, great story, over-the-top action, great combat, unique battles. This is the second city I was talking about. This is where you go and you do your other stuff. And again, it's going to strike you as a little bit of a different game. Tonally, it's quite different from the last game. It's about, it's about bullying, and it's about the shadows of bullying and what happens to those that, are bullied, and maybe even those that do the bullying. And I think that's kind of fascinating, because the whole like actual initial opening of the game actually takes part in a school. It's really weird, and I was like kind of wondering what was going on with that. But as the story kind of comes together, things wrap up, you understand more and more as to like what is going on, what's happening. And that's why I love these Yakuza games, and well, specifically the Judgment series, is the way everything wraps together is beautiful. Like, the Yakuza games, they've got really good gripping stories, but these ones are really, really intricate. Now, I don't know, I don't think I necessarily enjoyed the story elements as much as I liked the first game, because I found them a bit more predictable in this one, but I still thought this was a really, really good story. Like, the first Judgment actually might be one of the best games I've ever played, to be honest. It's just really, really good. So it's like, it's a hard level or bar to kind of stand up to, and I'd say this is very, very close to it. Very, very close to that quality. It all loads really fast on the Series X. It looks really smooth. There's the detective doggo. So there's, okay, we gotta keep going. So we're at the school, right? You're at the school. And one of the cool side things you get is to be part of this like detective group. So you're kind of like, there's this there's filters. So there's like this lady that runs the detective group, and you kind of become their teacher, as to say, to a degree. There's some more of our pals here. This guy was like a real side character last game, and he's like right at the forefront on this one. But you should know these guys if you've been familiar with them. It's just kind of our second base of operations. They've spread out and they've done their own detective agency thing. Actually, I think there was some gifts waiting for me in that. I'm going to grab that quickly, one sec. But anyways, you know what I mean, and it's just this hilarious thing where you know, this lady kind of has these side quests for you to do, and you can be like a dance teacher too in this one, which is hilarious. But yeah, so basically, she's just funny. If they were to someday do a Yakuza game with like a female lead that's like this, and I don't know, down the road, you know, you do time skips or whatnot, she would be perfect for it. You know, just really kind of an inquisitive, intense detective. I'd love to see that be present at some point down the road. But anyways, to tie it into the dog is actually like, we go on a mission with a detective dog because he can sniff out danger and, you know, injustices and you know, injustice and whatnot. So you go on this mission and it's like, and you find out it's actually like her dog. And I don't think that's spoiling anything. It's like a silly side thing, but oh, it was just like, it was so perfect. I was like, of course it is. Of course it's her dog. That's just like so beautifully well done. I was like, that is fun. But that's just like a total side mission. And some side quests in this, you can spend like, you know, several hours on some of them doing intense like side things. And there's like stuff in the city to do. And it's no longer a chore to get around. As you've noticed, I've got a skateboard. You can get other things as well. And you just kind of get to traverse the open world a lot more. It's kind of cool because, you know, you can do all this stuff in the open world, but you also, you know, you can kind of skip everything. You can do taxis. There's a taxi app you can actually use on your phone, so you can just like taxi to places without having to walk around. And that's the cool thing, is they took out all the tediousness of actually having to sit here and grind out and fight other side enemies. Now, these games can be a little bit harder. For the Yakuza franchise, I always suggest playing on easy mode. You know, that might be a weird thing to say, but I just do because I find them difficult. Now, for this one, and Judgment, I actually just suggest playing on normal. They're very well balanced for their difficulty. You know, they give you an okay challenge at times, but I think they've really found that really soft sweet spot where you get some challenging moments, but it's also like, hey, I just get to enjoy the story. And I didn't really find that I was having too many hardcore moments. There are intense bosses, and of course, twists and turns within the story, and you never know when things are going to go or what's going to happen. And that's kind of the fun of this one, is figuring out this intense story about this guy that committed this crime, and you're like, okay, you know, pretty close and shut, you know, but maybe not. And it all fits in, and, you know, there's so many layers of complexity, and the story just keeps revealing itself and revealing itself. This was the school I was talking about. You spent a lot of time here. And I just find it really neat seeing, you know, kind of how everything just comes together, the hilarity of it, the funny moments. This is what I wanted to talk about. She's the,
Yagami-san.
you know, she's the one that runs the detective agency, and I think her brother's usually here. I don't know. They've got their own little cool pad down here where they chill out and whatnot. She's putting everything together. That's what she does. But anyways, she would be a perfect lead for a future Yakuza spin-off or something, or maybe like a Judgment game down the road. I really think she could take point on it. Anyways, back to what I was saying. This game is a lot of fun. It's really cool. It's dynamic. It's a little bit strange. I think it's filled with some surprises, unique characters, dark moments, really sad moments too. You know, things where you're kind of like, oh, I can't believe that this happened, or how could they do this? And it's just like, it's gripping with action and hilarity, and it's just really quite an exciting experience to play, and, you know, a lot of fun. And you can be creepy too, it's great. Let's do, the selfie camera. Anyways, you know, it's a really unique experience. And like I said, you get a lot of gameplay time out of this. There are a lot of different areas for you to explore, challenges for you to take in, and it looks so good. And I mean, being here with like the frame rate too, I really love the 60 FPS option. I think it's the perfect way to play these games with that, you know, action going on, that intensity. So you don't miss out on it. You get to have a really good time kind of feeling the quality there. Oh, that's like another mission thing. And like I said, you can go off on these missions and do all these like cinematic points, but we're mostly just trying to explore so I can actually talk about the game, show off some of the fighting, and give you the gist of the action here. And like I mentioned, there's a lot of side activities you can do outside of even doing missions. You know, there's like, we got different gadgets to play with. Oh, Detective Dog is a gadget. What? There's like the drone to play with. We got all these case files, the town go, yep. And there's like the buzz researcher, so you can kind of put together extra challenge things, like, or not challenge things, extra missions based on like research in the game, being like, let's throw these keywords together to figure out what's going on. There's like day, night, and stuff going on. It could be nighttime. It really sets the mood for some situations. Of course, there are little extra side places you can end up going where the mission kind of unfolds and the story kind of builds up to be even, more intricate, interesting. I just think it's a really fun game. It's unique. It's different. It's over the top, but yet also really well balanced and grounded. I like these titles even more than I like the mainline Yakuza games. That might be a weird thing to say, but they really are well done. They're engaging, they're fun, they've got unique moments to them, and I love the element of surprise and figuring out, what's happening, what's going on in this world. It's just really a unique experience solving the mystery. And like I said, there's not too many games where you get to actually feel like you are a detective doing detective work. It's got like some dark noir type stuff going on, and it's very serious, and there's just these moments where you're like, oh, is everyone gonna make it and whatnot, and it's crazy, and there's camaraderie between your group, and so many characters across this delicately balanced cast, and they're serious as well. There's high levels of loyalty and emotion going on as well, and I think that's just kind of fun to see in action here, and something that I've really, kind of enjoyed out of these games. They're really, really good. So much value to and how much you can play and what you can do in the world. It just feels expansive. It feels exciting. And you really don't feel like you've missed a beat. Like, coming off of the last game here, it's really, really exciting to be doing this one so soon, because, it's refreshed in my mind, having played it, I think literally like 6 months ago was when I played the first one, because it was, it dropped on the next-gen console and whatnot, and I was like, okay, good, perfect time, let's get into it. And I didn't realize how into it I was going to be. I'm like, I really like these games. They're great. And like I said, I don't necessarily love this one as much as the first one, but it's still like, whoa, these mysteries, it's so cool, and the crazy stuff going on, the people you have to deal with, the combat along the way. It's just a really good, smooth-looking world. Now, I would have also liked to maybe see, some more new environments. Like, I'm assuming the reason they're able to pump this one out so fast is because they are using places we're familiar with. That's also part of the magic of, if you play all the Yakuza games, the starting, Komachi area that I showed off there is probably something that feels really familiar to you. You've seen it in all the games. You care about this place because you've been immersed in it, and you've seen the evolutions of it over the different games. And that's also the case here, is, you do care about these spots because you know them so well, very intimately, because you spent so much time playing in them. And to me, that's kind of a cool touch as well that you wouldn't necessarily think about. But at the same time, it's like, I was playing Yakuza Like a Dragon for however many hours, about a year ago at the time of, putting this together. And it's like, this area here is just so fresh in my mind. It's just like, oh, I'm back here again. Like, they still manage to send us to new areas, and they don't make it feel like boring or anything like that. I'm very much knowledgeable of this location, but at the same time, I'm like, I would have really liked, just to go somewhere else. I think that would have been nice, just to have some more extra areas to go to. So I kind of hope that that becomes a thing. And you can get, like, health potions, which are basically in the form of, like, medicine and whatnot. I'm kind of surprised I didn't pick up any at all. That's kind of a bit strange. Usually you do. Oh, and you got, like, little discovery outfits. Oh, and the gear system's kind of neat. You can get different pieces of gear that kind of give you, I guess you could say, the ability to deal with scenarios a little bit better, if you'd like to. So that's something that is different in this one as well. And you could be blocking and stuff and using different weapons and tools to hit people. I'm kind of lazy because, my character is strong, right? Like, I finished the game. I've got a pretty powerful and confident character that I can use to basically annihilate opponents and whatnot. I don't have any issues with it. But yeah, no, it's a cool game. It's fun. It's interactive. It's got a lively city that feels great. I think the visuals are nice. I'm very, happy to have played this one. I think it's a very worthwhile experience. I think, you can have a lot of fun playing this and seeing what it has to offer, and I think it's definitely worthwhile. But please do, you know, consider taking a look at the first game. They kind of go over the gist of it in this one with some of the missions and whatnot, like you get his backstory. So you can play this as a standalone, but it's so much more rewarding if you play both of them together, and you just get the full gist of Yagami's story, because it's fun, it's great, and it's definitely worthwhile. And you might find some dating moments too in this one. Pretty expansive, I must say.